What's up, guys? Welcome back. Me and JD are back at it.
Absolutely, man.
We are going to dive right into today and right off the bat, crash the stream. Thanks, bud. Anyways, so we're going to get right into it, man. Wow. We got a couple of we have a couple of stories that definitely need talking about, and we're gonna kind of break them down and give you our thoughts on them. We're gonna start with the NBA. We're gonna start with the NBA. JD, your Chicago Bulls have claimed the number one seed right now in the Eastern Conference, sitting at 25-10. An impressive record, and they are on a roll right now, guy. They are
Hell yeah.
they are playing very, very good basketball, and we've talked about it for a bit now, and their biggest weapon on that team and biggest asset is they play unselfish basketball. They don't care who scores, who leads the team. That from night to night, they don't care. They don't care who gets the stars of the game. They just play unselfishly, and they're sitting at 25-10, and like I said to open it up, leading the Eastern Conference Finals. I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on that, man. As a Bulls fan, they look pretty good, man. They do.
Man, it's been a lot of suffering. I'll tell you what, man. It's been a long time since the Bulls were even remotely good. Probably about 6 years, I want to say. And since they were even relevant, you know what I mean? Since they could even make the playoffs, probably like about 10 years since they've been actually good. And it's really cool to see that we invested in somebody like DeMar DeRozan, and we didn't even pay him max dollars at all, but he's playing like a max player. And it just goes to show that everyone has so much to contribute. These NBA players are so gifted, a lot of them, and they have so much to give the game. Like if you put them in positions to succeed, you look at kind of like an Isaiah Thomas. I know that's a little bit outlandish to think about him right now because he's kind of like a 15th, 16th man. I think he just got waived again. But like if you put him in position to win, he scores 30 points a game. But then you put DeMar DeRozan in a position like Popovich did. He's got like only like maybe just under 20 points, maybe 20 points a game, something like that. But then you put him in Billy Donovan's system where it emphasizes mid-range and in and out play and everything like that and unselfish ball. And he's just as good as anybody. He's one of the best top 10, 15 players in the entire game when you put him in that system. So it's amazing what some of these guys have for skill. And it's amazing how diverse and different this Bulls team is. It really does remind me of the Raptors of 2019 and potentially the Pistons of 2005, 2004, where you just have all these different parts and they kind of work together really well. And it doesn't matter what the stats are. Everyone's kind of really, really good and they can all go off. I love to see those types of teams. And I'm really hoping Matt Barnes said that the Bulls are his favorite to win the NBA title. Man, that would be something, man. That would be absolutely something to see.
No doubt, man. It would. Like I said, they've the off, like talk about a killer off season too. They found a lot of these guys, and you know what? A lot of them were cast offs.
Yes.
They were DeMar DeRozan was
forgot about.
Off. You know what I mean? They were kind of other people's garbage that they let go and just said, go ahead.
Nobody wanted DeMar DeRozan. Nobody cared about DeMar DeRozan. They kept lowballing him. We offered him the most money, and to me, that's not even that much money for his performance level. He's outperforming his contract already, and I think that he gets off on. I think DeMar gets off on proving everyone wrong right now. This year really is exciting, and I'm not trying to speak for him, but I think that definitely just being snubbed, being traded for Kawhi, and then being snubbed in free agency, except by the Bulls. I think that definitely motivated him to come out and have a really good year. The rule changes, which we've talked about on this channel, and I have a video on my channel about that, is that just like our video basically, but that definitely helped DeMar DeRozan, just emphasizing the mid-range game, checking people at the three-point line. All right, well, you're going to check Zach LaVine at the three-point line. You're going to check Lonzo at the three-point line. Here you go, DeMar. Go work in the middle. And DeMar loves that. Oh, man, he loves to work on that in the middle, in the elbow. He's phenomenal, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting to see.
What's up, basketball? What's up, guys? So let me ask you a question. Why have the like as a legitimate like contender, like a legitimate contender now, title contender, possible as a legitimate possible title contender, the Bulls. Why does it fit? Why does it fit, dude? Why does it fit well? Why does all this fit well? Because I just said this was other, like a lot of these guys were other people's. Do you think it's they're all playing with a chip on their shoulder because they were cast-offs from other people?
I think you've said it twice, or you said both of the things: the chip on the shoulder, castaway, and then the fact that they no one really believed in them, so that's the chip on the shoulder. But what was the other thing? Oh yes, just the overall like chemistry of the team, the unselfishness. So it's the unselfishness and it's the chip on the shoulder. I think that's what gets them going. Now, I think, and I'm a Bulls fan, okay? Like, so I don't want to be too like down or negative or anything like that. But I think this team is either the Raptors of 2019, where they're going to make it super deep playoff run, compete with the best of them, and then kind of flame out. Or, keep in mind, or we could be the Pistons and kind of have a sustained run, or the third option, and I hope this isn't the case, we could be the 2014 Atlanta Hawks, where they were the number one seed in the league. They won almost 60 games. They played really, really well, and then they just completely got dominated in the playoffs by LeBron James and other superstars. See, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about star power. So that's how does it work? It works with unselfishness and the chip on the shoulder. How far can that take you? I don't know. I'm hoping it takes us all the way.
See, that's the biggest question though, is how, like you just said it. How far can the Bulls team go? Can the Bulls team go on pure guts and determination? How far will that take you? Will it take you to the finals, or will it take you to the Eastern Conference final and have to? See, I think for the Bulls to get to the finals, they're going to have to go through the Bucks. I think they're going to have to go through them. I don't think they're going to have a choice. They're going to have to go through Milwaukee. And I'll tell you one thing, that's going to be one hell of a series. If it ends up being Bulls Bucks, that's if the Bulls can beat Giannis, I think they can. It's going to be awfully interesting. That's all that I'll have to say.
In my opinion, we are witnessing right now prime DeMar DeRozan. This is like legit prime DeMar DeRozan. He's never going to be better than he is right now, and he's really, really good. But my question is, for the Bulls team, like if I was in a room with them, I'd be like, all right, boys, all right, listen. We're going to the playoffs now, and obviously we're really far away. I mean, shoot, they might not even make the playoffs this year. They could fall off completely from grace, but let's assume they do. We're going into the playoffs. We have the mentality, okay, they got superstars on their team. They have champions on their team, like the Bucks I'm talking about. They have champions on their team. Who's going to be our superstar? Because it's not DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is an amazing second or third option. Really good, like the best second or third option you could ask for, but he's not the superstar. So who's the superstar? Is it Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine kind of both being good stars together? Is that your second superstar? Because you need at least two superstars. You got two stars and a star. But here's the thing. Is it Lonzo? Is it LaVine? Is it both? Or is it just LaVine? We need someone. That's why I cannot wait for the playoffs. I'm so excited for it because the playoffs are where stars are born. Like Trae Young, people were like, oh, no, how I feel about Trae Young. He's wishy-washy. He's inconsistent sometimes. Now, because of last year's playoff run, he is Trae Young. He's Trae Young now. Like, people understand who that is, what that means. 45 and 15 a night sometimes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who's our guy like that? Who's going to say, all right, it's playoff time, I'm going to bolt my numbers up and just be a beast on every single end of the floor? That's what I'm excited to see. I can't wait for it. I really can't. It's just so exciting. I'm going to watch every second.
You something from CBS Chicago Sports to get your thoughts on it. All right?
Okay, deal. They got a lot of crap on there. Let's listen.
All right, so I'd like to read you something here. This is from former NBA forward Matt Barnes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And he says, Barnes said on ESPN's NBA Today that Chicago's ceiling is the 2022 NBA Finals. So he thinks they can make it. He goes on to say, this is a very talented team, and they're still getting better. Barnes expressed that DeMar DeRozan was having one of the best seasons in the NBA. And
True.
DeRozan still isn't satisfied with where he's at and still wants to get better. He goes on to say, Barnes goes on to say, it's not to disrespect Miami, Brooklyn, or the Bucks. This Chicago team is right in the mix with them. It said, and then it says the Bulls added more separation in the Eastern Conference standings by beating the Orlando Magic since Barnes attached himself to the Chicago Bulls bandwagon. Barnes vote does not. This says Barnes' vote does have some weight, as the 14-year journeyman did hoist up the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 2017. The NBA champion did say on Monday's show that he predicted the Bulls to exceed preseason expectations and be the surprise of the NBA season. He says, quote, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I called this at the beginning of the season, Barnes said. What do you think of that?
Well, there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. They already are the surprise of the NBA season, so that's definitely a thing already. Like, even if they just won 40 games, they'd be the surprise of the season because people didn't expect them to play this well together. As far as DeMar DeRozan, I think that some of DeMar DeRozan, his success, like I don't want to make it seem like I'm like denigrating him in any way, because he clearly has made improvements. He's clearly a really great player, and he's an all-star player. There's no question. But a lot of it has to do, he was always this good. A lot of it has to do with the rule change, and people are not talking about the rule change, especially the mainstream media. They will not talk about it. I don't know why. It's almost like, I think it has to do with LeBron somehow. I don't know how, but I think it has to do with LeBron. Anyway, the rule change that you can check people at the line, at the 3-point line, has it took its toll early on. I think it's still taking its toll with James Harden. But then it makes people, you got to understand how basketball works. It's like a flow, you know what I mean? And you've seen a million games. You know what it is? It's a flow. So when your flow is that, I can check you at the 3-point line, what's open? Mid-range, usually, because people hustle down to the paint, but not everyone's in position. So what's open? The mid-range is open. DeMar DeRozan has always had mid-range skills, but it used to be an analytics game where he was being marginalized. All right, DeMar, shoot a three. All right, DeMar, dunk it. And so that's all he's doing is shooting threes and dunking. That's not his game. His game is to break you down on the elbow, and that's a lost art. DeMar plays he plays like we all want to play. You know what I mean? Just cook you, basically. Like cook you.
From the elbow. Just shoot from the elbow all day long. Yep.
And just constantly wreck you. So no, it's like, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. I think that not a lot of us saw it coming. And I would just add that a lot of it has to do with the rules and chemistry. The unselfishness is unbelievable. No one expected that, I don't think. I didn't expect that. How unselfish
I don't even think Karnosovic. I don't even think AK expected them to gel this good.
Yeah, and I think Vucevic definitely him just anchoring down the center position that definitely has always that helps. You know, he brought a team to the NBA or to the playoffs. He brought the Magic to the playoffs. So, yeah, I think that he definitely helps too. But DeRozan, he deserves a lot of credit, no question.
I think a huge part of it, a big part of it too, kind of like an unsung part of the Bulls is their bench is playing really good too.
Oh, they're so deep. They're such a deep team.
Their bench is playing really, really good too. And that,
oh yeah,
I mean, you've seen how far teams can go with a deep bench. That will carry you. A deep bench will take you to the finals. It will.
Caruso can drop 30 and get 3 steals if he absolutely needs to, and he's given the ball. Kobe White can drop 30, and he's pretty big. Yeah, they have a good team. They could use maybe one more center behind Vucevic, but they have a good team. And they're about as good as anybody. It's pretty cool, honestly. I love to see it. And it is shocking. That's the Bulls season has been shocking. Like let's all acknowledge that. Even as a Bulls fan, I was hoping for the best, but not expecting this much success.
I knew they were going to be good. I knew they were going to be, or I should say, I knew they were going to be much improved. I didn't know they were going to be this good though.
Signing DeRozan,
they were going to be this good this fast.
I knew that would help a little bit. I was like, well, that's our forward guard position. That's, we have some depth there now. So that definitely helped. I think Lonzo helped change the culture. I think he helps change the culture. Doesn't get talked a lot. Everyone has
a lot of those guys. I think a lot like we hit on it at the beginning. It's we said it at the beginning. It's those guys have they looked at each other, I think, when they built that, when AK brought them in, and I think he must have said, look, teams didn't believe in you guys, and we brought you together, and look at what you're like. It's kind of like a giant, like, fuck you to the rest of the league. It's like, but you know what I mean? It's like,
especially for DeRozan and Lonzo.
That's what I'm saying. It's how these are. So you wanted to just cast these guys aside. We're going to take them and we're going to show you what their potential really is.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is we actually have room for pretty much one more good player with like the amount of money. Arturas Karnisovas is a shining example of what a good GM can do for you. In one season, literally, like you have bad GMs for 10 years. One season he takes over. Like I can't wait to see what he does next. It's just next offseason. I'm like, man, he's gonna be an incredible GM for a long time. I think. I really do. I don't think this was a one-off. I think this was circumstantial success, which is like, we just got a few guys that we thought would be good, and all of a sudden, bam, we're really good. Like I think that's what it is. I don't think this was by design.
A huge point. Somebody just put it in the live chat. When Pat Williams comes back too.
Yeah. On defense, that wing. If he can even come back this year, that'd be beautiful.
They're playing this good without a piece like him.
Yeah.
And then they get him back.
And yeah, exactly. It's crazy. Like a guy, was he 6'9", athletic? Yeah, I mean it's going to be great. It's great to watch. It really is. Like it's going to make our team even bigger, stronger down in the paint. It's exciting. It really is. What's up, Water King? What's up, Jared? Sleeping Angels talks. What up?
So let's move. So we started off in the Windy City with Chicago, and now let's travel east on the Pike to a team that's back into Boston, and let's talk about a team that's not so good.
Oh man.
This Celtics. Now, I don't like to rub it in people's faces that much.
Yeah, you do.
No, let me take that back. I like to rub it in people's faces. Let me take that back.
Don't lie to them.
Don't lie. Yeah. Sorry. So, listen. I told you guys so. I told you so. I told you so. This team is, first of all, let's talk, right? The Brown and Tatum are two very good shooters. They can score. Both of them can score. No, I am not debating that in any way, shape, or form. Both of those guys are very skilled shooters. They can score and they can drive to the basketball. When they play aggressive, they're hard to stop. They get the calls and they know how to work they know how to work their way to the rim and get the call. I am
Sure.
not debating that in any way, shape, or form, but they are fucking selfish. And all they care about, each one of those guys, is their points. I need my stats. I need my stature. I need to build my brand and fuck the team. That's what it is. And that's not just those two. There's multiple guys on that team that just care about their brand, their stature, and that's it. Tatum and Brown are more concerned about making an all-star game than they are about winning an NBA title, because that's what makes they care about building their own brand over building the Celtics. And when was the last time you watched a Celtic game and said, wow, those guys pulled together and closed that game out and pulled a gritty win out, right?
Usually it's just iso ball.
Look at a team like the Bulls. So a perfect example. The Bulls play together as a team. They've been able to get these gritty wins. They've been down in the fourth quarter, with 6-8 minutes to go, pull it together, grind it out, and win by 2, 3, 4, 6 points at the end of games. And they step on the opponent's throat at the end and win. They close it out and they leave no doubts. This team is a group of individuals and not a team. And without wholesale change, JD, I don't think we're going to see any type of anything. I don't think without wholesale changes, we're not going to see anything better than a 500 team.
I think it's becoming fairly evident, like that, and I don't know when this stopped being a thing, but these GMs need to realize that certain guys just don't play together well. And that's just a fact. They just are not going to play together well. Tatum and Brown, Simmons and Embiid, they're not going to play together well. You might get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, but it's going to unravel slowly. And that's what we're seeing right now. Obviously, they have to choose. In my opinion, you have to choose one, because you can't tear it all down. That just wouldn't make any sense. But I know what you mean. You have to literally like scrap at least half the team. You do, in order to build a new culture. So you got to choose which one wants to win more. Which one is more of a Celtic,
right? Let's be honest and upfront. Tatum is going to be the last bridge that they detonate to rebuild this. You know what I mean? They seem to love him. Be the last bridge that they have to, because. So I don't know how from an outside, but like to me, they drafted Tatum and Brown, two really good, young, immature. Built like they were just young building blocks that they had a ton of hope for when they drafted them. They had a ton of hope that they could develop and they could develop into top 15, top 20 guys in the league. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something, and this is what really gets me. Something, and I think you had hit it on the head before. Something stunted that development, because they got to a certain point that they were sharing the basketball when they were, and you hit it on the head before when you said Kyrie Irving came into town. I think when you had said he poisoned their attitude and inflated their egos and just completely, I think, caused them in their development to go in a direction that was not good for the team.
Absolutely. What I said in a video, multiple videos actually, because I was very like, right when Kyrie was traded, I was like, this is a disaster. Like I didn't like it immediately. And what I said after I saw it bake for a year, this is like my last video on it, is that the Celtics pre-Kyrie Irving, so the Isaiah Thomas Celtics that made it to the Eastern Conference Final, let's talk about that team for 1 second, and then we'll reference where we are now, is that team had actually all of the Celtics teams leading up to this point. And it just shows you how one person can do so much. But all the Celtics teams leading up, so like from 1960 to 2015. The Celtics have a culture of unselfishness. Boston, in fact,
And
has a culture.
Dude. They grit. You know what I mean? Gritty. They were able to get these gritty wins.
What's the best matchup? That's who we're gonna feed. You know what I mean? Like Kevin McHale would drop 60, and Ori would drop 40 sometimes. Like whoever had the best. That's when it was the Celtics with Isaiah Thomas and Tatum and all them. It was who has the best matchup. That's who's getting. Oh, Terry Rozier's got a good matchup. Give him the ball. We don't care. Doesn't matter. Whoever has the best matchup. That was the culture they built. They carved it out, and then they traded for Kyrie Irving. And they did so under the guise, if you remember, that Brad Stevens, they basically said, they were like, well, you look at Isaiah Thomas. He's such a limited player, even though he's an excellent scorer. He's such a limited player, and look at how successful he was under Brad Stevens' system. They thought it was a system or something, when in reality it's chemistry. There's the system and there's chemistry. People have to like playing with each other. Kyrie Irving came in, and there was so much drama. It was every single day. There was a new story out about Kyrie, or Tatum doesn't like this, or Marcus Smart said this, or Brown said this, and they have not recovered since then. Kyrie's been gone 2 years. It's hard to believe. It's been gone 2 years now. This will be a second year, and he's still like in that locker room whispering to people like, hey, you're better than that guy. You're actually better than that guy. And they're arguing with each other. So I agree with you. They have to blow it up. They have to rip out the cancer. They have to choose which cancer to keep, because you got to keep one cancer because they're a talented cancer. But you got to rip out one of those cancers, and you got to find some sustenance, because this team is rotting.
Now, let's be honest here. I said it before. Tatum is. Should they go with Jason Tatum? Me personally, I would actually take Brown over Tatum because of.
You said that, yeah.
Because of the attitude. He is more likely to be. He's more likely. I think Ime Udoka is more likely going to be able to convince him that if we share the bet, like he's going to be more of it. He'll have more of that team player attitude than Tatum will. And like I said, don't get me wrong. Tatum is an incredible scorer. He is, but his attitude sucks. It's a chemistry killer. That type of an attitude is a chemistry killer. And then I'm going to place blame on the whole organization. I'm talking from ownership, from Grossbeck, all the way down to the players, the individual players themselves. One of the biggest problems the Celtics have are the Celtics their own worst enemy. They are their own worst enemy. You remember that those couple of years where Danny Ainge spent all this collateral gathering picks together, and everybody thought he was going to make these big.
They call him a genius.
Well, that's what I mean. That for those couple of years that I think he spent 3 seasons just gathering all these picks together, and that was right around when Kevin Durant and all these big like top 10 guys were becoming free agents. Remember, there was one season that Durant and like 3 or 4 other really big names were were free agents and searching for new teams, or could be wooed from other teams to from their.
Could you
team.
imagine?
They had all these picks, and they had Danny Ainge had multiple opportunities to package some of those picks and some of the players we had at the time to get some of these guys, to get some of these guys on the Celtics. The Celtics are their own worst enemy. Their upper management overvalues their own guys. The only person that should be there should be one person on this team that's untouchable, and the front office needs to pick whether it is Tatum or Brown. And
I agree.
Everybody else is on everybody else they should be taking phone calls for. And then last and not least, so the ownership and the coaching absolutely gets blamed for it. Last but not least, the Celtics have not had a good bench in years.
Yeah.
In years.
Since
They're,
Terry
they're,
Rozier left.
it's been years since they've had a good, solid bench that they could rely on to take pressure off the starters.
Mm-hmm.
Ime
definitely
Udoka,
hurts.
Brad Stevens, their bench has been terrible.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I agree with you. They have to. The reason why they have to, here's the thing. The reason why they have to do what you just said, to add on to your point, is that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are individual talents. The difference is, or the person you can compare them to, the people you compare is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Two guys, right? They do the same thing. They literally do the same thing. Like they shoot. Now, Curry is obviously an elite ball handler and an amazing point guard, but they're both guards and they shoot the ball. So you would think, well, that's my thing. I can't have another guy doing that, but it works. And they won 3 championships with Kevin Durant, but they won 1 championship, just those two being the main offensive catalysts and stuff like that. So those guys grew up together. They were drafted, they grew up together, and they built a winning culture together. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are individuals growing separately on the same team. And that's not a teammate. That's not going to build a winning culture. You have to choose who leads your culture. They chose Steph Curry, and the Celtics haven't chose. The Celtics still haven't chose. It's been like 3 years, and they haven't chose. Like first, it was Kyrie Irving.
You want me to tell you why I think they haven't chose? Because I don't think they believe in either one of them. I think deep down, here's a hot take for you, Celtics Nation. Here's a hot take for you. The Celtics don't believe in either one of them. I think they see where this is going with Tatum and Brown, and they realize that they're probably Tatum, Brown, and Smart, and the rest of the two, but those 3 guys in particular, something has got to give. And I truly think that the reason why they haven't chose, because they don't believe in any one of them. I don't think they believe enough in any one of them to be like, we're going to go with this guy. I don't think they believe in him enough to do that.
Holy crap. I didn't even think of that
and you know what? And that scares the crap out of upper management, because then they go, then upper management, you got Brad Stevens and Grossbeck going, oh shit, what do we do now?
The walls are closing in now. You know what I mean? Because you're literally burning money at this point, if that's the case. If you don't, oh man, I didn't even think about that. It's very possible. That's the thing. It's because that's the thing. It's not even Embiid and Simmons, because the Philadelphia 76ers are all in on Simmons and have been not Simmons, Embiid. They're all in on Embiid. Embiid is our guy. Simmons, take him or leave him. But Embiid is our guy. That's literally what they are. You're right. The Celtics fandom is not necessarily sold on Tatum. So why would the management be? I didn't even think about that, actually. They got the pulse of the nation.
They're not sold on either one of them. I'm just saying, to me, the more moldable, coachable player that I would like to have.
Hey, Joe Galloway. Shout out to Joe.
Member. Appreciate that, man.
Member King.
So when it comes to the Celtics, I'm old school. I want a guy that's coachable. I want a guy that's going to play for the team, that's going to use his teammates and that's going to elevate the team to play better around him. I think Brown's more capable of doing that than Tatum, because he actually cares about the team. I don't think Tatum cares one bit about. I think there's a bunch of bullshit and lies that we're being fed as Celtic fans, that Tatum cares about the team. No, he don't. No, he doesn't.
Bro, that's actually a really, really good point too, because remember whenever there was rumors that, and obviously AD didn't do this, but like AD was going to get traded for Tatum to the Celtics basically, and Tatum like leaned into those rumors. He was like, well, yeah, whatever, we'll see what happens. And he was okay with it.
Because you don't want to know why what would happen? Because if AD was traded to this, you want to know why Tatum is the way he is, and the way, because if a legitimate superstar, it's almost like you act like a gangster until a real gangster walks in the room. Tatum acts like a superstar until a real superstar walks in the room.
Damn. That's interesting.
Tatum, and here's, I'm telling you, I don't mean to, dude, I told you I was going to flame these guys today. I wasn't happy. Tatum is fake it till you make it.
Oof. Damn. See, I see Tatum like a Paul George, but it's hard to say when he's losing like this. Paul George at least had a couple 50-win seasons as the guy. Tatum wasn't even the guy when he had a 50-win season. So it's tough to say. Yeah,
they haven't chosen. The Celtics haven't made a decision between Brown and Tatum because I don't think they believe in either one of them enough to say with vigor and with conviction that this is our guy. This is our.
And why would they? No one's taking the lead either. That's a good. No one's taking the lead, man. Like no one's saying like, "All right, it's my team." And if they do, the other guy goes, "Actually, it's my team." But at some point, you either got to say it's our team or it's this guy's team. You can't just kind of be wishy-washy. Wishy-washiness is how you end up out of the playoffs. That's how you end up out of the playoffs.
Well,
for
it
sure.
gets you nowhere too. What does it accomplish? Nothing. You have to pick a direction. I respect the teams that pick a direction and just see it through. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And then they start and they go again. But this team has no direction. They're a ship without a rudder.
What if here's another hot take. Everybody put on your hat. I just thought of this.
Put on the tinfoil hats.
Put it on, dude. What if they re-signed Isaiah Thomas? I know he's older now. But he dropped 60 in that one league, and then he comes into the NBA. He went, I think it was 11 for like 16 or something like that. What do they have to lose? Even off the bench, what do they have to lose? Like, who's their starting point guard right now? Isn't it Marcus Smart?
I know. The Celtics have two biggest problems.
You might as well.
Chemistry and leadership. Because even the teams after the 2008 championship, at least they played for one another. You know what I mean?
Yes.
At least they played for one another and played for the team and truly enjoyed playing as a team. This team hates each other.
Kevin Garnett almost dropped like 30 points a game at one point, but when he went to the Celtics, he only had like 18 points a game and was the defensive juggernaut. Like this
team hates each other, JD. Don't let them Boston media. I'm telling you, if you're a Celtic fan, do not listen to the Boston media telling you that because they're trying to blow a rainbow up your ass. This team does not like each other. It doesn't. They don't because if they there were multiple times in the game last night, and I might have not have streamed the game, but I watched that game from start to end. And listen, there were multiple times in that game where Tatum or Brown had the basketball, and the smart play would be to push the ball up the court because people were in better positions to shoot than them. And what'd they do? They kept it for themselves, played iso ball, drove to the hoop.
Yeah, that's just not going to do it, man. It's just not going to do it. You have to play aggressive for each other. You have to play aggressive for the team and just let the chips fall. And I think you should be going for – and this is the biggest problem, I think, with a lot of new stars in the league. They look for stats, and they look for the wrong stats. You should be – if you're a young guy, you should be looking, all right, man, I want to shoot above 50% for the field. I want at least 5 assists, and I want to make sure that my plus-minus is really good on defense. I want to make sure my defense is really good. I don't want anyone scoring on me. That's the actual smart mentality to do it and let the chips fall. But instead, guys are like, I got to get to 30 tonight. That is not the right mentality.
Jason Tatum on a nightly basis. I have to get – it's me. I care about me. I care about my stats. I care about me making the All-Star game.
And
I don't give
never
a shit
gonna
if
work
my
out.
teammates make the All-Star game. I care if I make the All-Star game. I got to get my shots. Me. That's what Tatum and Brown are all about. And that's what a lot of the NBA is about. And that's why a lot of these teams that have these superstars suck because it's me. All
exactly. It's I need to make sure I get mine, and then maybe the team can get theirs too. And that's never going to work out. DeMar DeRozan, the fascinating thing, I know we were talking about that earlier, but the thing with the Bulls is the reason why he fits so well is because he's feeding off of others. He's saying, oh, Lonzo's getting me open. Okay, I'll take this shot. he's not saying, all right, give me the ball. I need ISO to make sure I get my stats. That's just not going to work out. And another guy I look at is Bradley Beal. And that's somebody who the Celtics could get for a guy. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. That's a guy who he was the only guy for a long time on the team. Now he's got a bunch of guys to play with, and his stats are going down. See, some of these guys, like you said, they're fake superstars, kind of like they're stars. Yeah, they're obviously talented.
You act like a gangster until a real gangster walks.
Once a real gangster walks in, you know what's up, though. You know when Steph Curry walks in, he's about to torch your ass up.
But when he walks on the same court as Steph Curry, he's not even on the same freaking league.
Nobody really is, in my opinion.
But
it's Giannis,
even like guys like Bradley Beal.
Yeah,
Tatum isn't as good as Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is a better. I would take Beal over Tatum in a.
I would too, actually.
Heartbeat.
Yeah, right now for the next 3 years, yeah, I would. Beal's a little older, but yeah, I would take him. Sure.
Even a guy like Dame Lillard, because he's got grit
in a heartbeat.
But you know what I mean. He's got grit. He's got fight. That's another thing too. Like
it's clutch.
So, but like, just before I close my Celtic rant out,
sure,
because this fucking team has given me gray hairs and this team has given me gray hairs and heartburn this year. That's what it's given me.
Gray hairs and heartburn.
So it's they're missing fight. Like, one of the things that we could depend the most on as Boston sports fan, as Boston sports fans, is if you beat our team, we ain't going down without scratching and clawing and fighting you to the very end of these games in any sport. You know what I mean? Basketball, football, hockey, baseball. If you beat a Boston team, the pride of the thing that Boston bases its existence on is that if you beat us, you're gonna have to beat us. We're not just gonna roll over and let you win this game. You know, like, we're gonna fight you tooth and nail to the end. And this Celtic team this year has no fight, no heart, and no balls when it matters the most. And that's a shame too. That's a shame, because that's an insult to the fans that show up every night and sell the garden out every night. The product that this team is putting on the court is so, like, the fans deserve better.
Yeah, they're going against what made the Celtics great. It's like they don't even know the culture of Boston. That's what they're doing. It's kind of like if you went into Chicago and just started being like a pansy. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like you were scared of everything and you played scared all the time. It's kind of like Matt Nagy. Yeah, it's like Matt Nagy. That's a good example. It's like when you're wishy-washy and you don't really know, and you know. What we like is we like you to tell us how it is, like Mike Ditka and stuff. That's our culture. Mike Ditka is like, oh, here's how it is. I don't give a crap about it. Celtics culture is you better be a team player, or not even Celtics. Boston culture is you better be a team player. You live and die for the city, and you live to win. This is title town. That's Boston's. Yeah, Red Auerbach. Yeah, that's a good point, Rick. Yeah, Red Auerbach Celtics. It's like, man, these are the Celtics, bro. You can't be an ISO player and be on the Celtics. That's against the culture. Go to join the Lakers. Go join the Bulls. You don't do that with the Celtics. That's just not the Celtics. So that's kind of my point of this with Boston. It's like, that's not the Patriots. That's not the Celtics.
But it's just that's all my. I mean, I don't mean to rant, but that's just my point. It's
true.
The product that's being put on the court for Celtic fans is they deserve better. And the upper management, coaching, and GM, they need to be better. The fans deserve better than what they're. And if that means tearing it down brick by brick, block by block, and keeping one guy, or, you know, if that's what it means, tearing it down and rebuilding, then
before we move on,
tear it down and rebuild.
Before we move on, though, so let's say you get your way. Let's say this happens. Like, even by the trade deadline, when is that? Next month? Next month, the trade deadline? March?
It's next month, yeah.
Next month.
The trade deadline is next month.
Let's say the Celtics just flame out and just suck for like 2 weeks. And what's his name? Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is all right, man. I'm the new GM. Okay. I'm sick of your attitude, Tatum. We're trading you. Who do you want? Do you want a player? Do you want picks? Do you want to keep Brown too? What would you do if you put your GM hat on and this is your team and you want to do something for the long-term success of the Celtics?
I would move Tatum. I would move Tatum and picks. I would go with Jason. I would go with Brown, and I would try to get him another star, at least a one stud to try and work with.
Would you want Lillard, Beal?
One of those guys, Lillard or Beal would work for me, and then I would go from there. But I would Tatum, and here's the thing too: Tatum's value is never going to be higher than what it is.
Crom
right
says
now.
get younger. Yeah, Tatum's value. Well, you're right. Its
value is never going to be
sinking.
higher than it is right now.
It was higher, but now it's you're right.
But this is
He's
what
not
I mean.
going to get higher. Yeah,
it's never going to get better.
You're right. It's not going to get better.
His value is the highest that it's going to be right now.
You're 100% right about that. That's just a fact. Like, is a Celtic, unless you just completely turn it around this season, his value will not get higher. I agree. And I don't see how they do turn it around. I don't think they have the guys to do it. Like you said, I don't think they have the guys to do it. But so you'd move Tatum. Would you move Smart, Horford? I don't think you can move Horford. You can't really move Horford, can you?
Smart for the right if there's the right package and I get the right return, I would do Smart too. Dude, nobody.
Dragic?
Nobody. Dude, I'd love to see Luka in a Celtic uniform.
Goran Dragic too? Oh, that'd be crazy. Yeah, Luka in a Celtic. Oh my God. Oh, he would change that culture in a heartbeat for sure.
But this is what I mean. Wholesale changes need to happen, or we are going to continue to see a 500 team every year. They're 500, dude. They are a 500 team, and they are going to continue to be one unless upper management and these guys really start taking a hard look at the team itself. Until wholesale changes are made, the team is not going to get any better. And it's disappointing because the fans deserve better, because the Garden is packed every night. Packed.
Well, yeah, and it's these fans this is like the people who witnessed the I agree, Karam, he's not leaving Dallas. The people who witnessed the Celtics fans, the oldest Celtics fans who witnessed the why is his name? Bill Russell era. Thank you, God. Bill Russell, Havlicek era. Those guys, they're starting to die. They're starting to get old and pass away.
Yeah.
So they deserve better. Those guys deserve better. The ones who have stuck it with 55 years or something like that. Well, so those guys definitely do.
They've seen, but see, Russell and the Russell Havlicek era, and then into the into the 70s and 80s with Bird.
Oh yeah, Bird. And
that was like, those teams were greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they finally got back in 08. They got back to it. They won the title. They won in 2008, and it was. They've just come so far. Like, there's such a far cry from what the Celtics used. I love the Celtics. I love the Boston team, but this team gives me nothing but heartburn and gray hair. And they're just hard to watch, dude. Like that game yesterday, I watched the whole game. It's just tough to watch. The product is so bad.
You know what would, and this is just like, if everything went right, I think you trade Tatum for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and a draft pick. Call me insane. I think that'd be pretty big.
Pick, though. I would want a high draft pick.
I mean, that would be something. Let's say the Sixers flame out this year, completely flame out. I could see that being something to shake things up. I don't know if they trade in division though like that. I don't know if they'd want to see each other like that. So it's just a thought I had. But yeah, the Celtics culture, it's so ancient, you know what I mean, in sports history, that you really can't. It just shows you how rare it is, man, and how hard it is to sustain those things. It's amazing when it is able to be sustained.
All right, so let's transition to a different team now. We'll stick with the NBA. Let's talk some Russ Westbrook for a second here. For 1 second, and then we'll move on to some football. we'll move on to some NFL stuff. But let's talk Russ Westbrook real quick. Westbrook accounts for 5 turnovers in a game on multiple games. He's done this not once, not twice, but multiple games this season. He's accounted for 5 or more turnovers in a game.
He's like averaging almost 5.
Is he a detriment to that team? Do you think he's a detriment to that team, and should they move on?
Oh, they have to move on. They have to move on. The Lakers absolutely, if they want any chance, if LeBron wants any chance at a title ever, he has to move on. Now, we talked about this early on in the podcast history. I think it was the first, I think it was the third episode, maybe. We talked about the fact that the Lakers had traded for Russ Westbrook. And we said, and I remember saying, okay, let's say LeBron gets hurt or something like that, or they want to use him off the bench and they just want to keep that tempo up. That kind of worked a little bit, but it didn't add to any wins. In fact, it took away from some wins because you got rid of a guy like Kuzma, and now he's having a good season. You got rid of a guy like Kuzma, you got rid of Caruso, you got rid of a lot of depth, and you're relying that depth on Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook makes some of the worst decisions ever with LeBron James on the floor. So this is an absolute nightmare for the Lakers, rather. Everything that they hoped would happen didn't happen, and everything that they should have done, they didn't do. So they could have, if you remember, they could have kept, I believe, Kuzma or Caruso, one or the other. They could have kept one of them and gotten Buddy Hield. There was something in the works where, they would have kept either Caruso or Kuzma and gotten Buddy Hield. That was on the table. And LeBron James said, actually, we should get Russell Westbrook. Dope. That wasn't smart. Now he's averaging he's having the worst season he's ever had. And
isn't Westbrook having one of the worst seasons in his career?
This might be the worst season if you consider the PER efficiency, everything like that. He might have been better when he was a rookie. And the game has completely passed him by. He has way too much confidence in himself. And he's not. I don't even think he's actually an NBA player right now. If you ask, and this is a guy I used to like, Russell Westbrook. I used to have his jersey. I used to really like him. I thought he was cool, but he just has fallen off so much as far as decision making as a point guard that he's really just a spectacle now. He's not even a basketball player. He's kind of just a spectacle. I really believe he belongs in China. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think we're witnessing the end of his career. I think he's winding it down. I just, even on the nights that he plays good and they're so far spread, they're so far few and spread in between, they're spread in between 2 or 3 weeks of just horrid, just bad, worse than rookie play. He's making mistakes on the court that even that rookies make, that literally rookies. It's I've seen him watch them play, and it's dude, what do you do? I just have to say, sit back and go, what are you doing? That it's literally like watching a rookie.
And I think the more we watch this unravel, and Cavs family had an interesting thing. He said ESPN had posted a stats last game saying that, Westbrook didn't have a turnover in one of those games. It was the first time in almost 200 games. Think about that. For a point guard, you're the point guard. You can't have that many turnovers in 200 straight games. You have a turnover? You don't even have CP3 went 4 games in a row in the playoffs where he didn't have a turnover. He was incredible. So it is what it is. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, a little bit, owe Kevin Durant an apology, because this is a situation, we just talked about it for 20 minutes, where we got 2 guys who are growing individually differently. Kevin Durant's an efficient, he's very efficient. He's very fundamental in the game. Russell Westbrook is a showman. He's a spectacle. You know what he's addicted to? He's addicted to the numbers, and he's addicted to the cheers.
He wants,
that's what he is. He
wants me, spotlight on me all the time. That's what it's got to be.
It is. And like, did you see that one turnover where he was dribbling in between his legs and trying to be fancy and stuff, and he was looking directly at his opponent, and then he lost the ball and it went into the out of bounds. That was the biggest, like, LeBron James's face was just like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
What did I just do? Like, why did I do this? This was so stupid. It like, he literally, for every amazing play Westbrook has, which by the way, he still has a few amazing plays. He's still a talented guy. He makes like 4 terrible plays, and it's getting worse, and it's really ugly. And I can't feel bad for LeBron James, because LeBron James always seems, and I heard, oh my God, I see Lakers fans trying to say Frank Vogel needs to go. Shut up, you Lakers fans. Shut
It's not
up.
Vogel. It's not
Vogel.
It's not.
You idiots. Like, oh my God. When I see that stuff, I'm like, you guys are so dumb. It's clearly LeBron James is making 90% of the GM decisions and stuff, because that's what he does. And they call him Le GM back when he was in Cleveland 6 years ago. You think anything has changed? No. He's gotten worse and more demanding. So the Lakers are a shit show.
This is kind of why I hope LeBron gets to own a team, because it is going to crash and burn so hard that it's going to be spectacular to watch.
Yeah, for real. It'd be worse than Jordan owning a team.
LeBron's sports team is going to be like driving by an accident on the highway.
It's going to be the most like politically commercialized, like advertised, like
such a train wreck that you're not going to be able to not look at it.
And they're not going to win.
That's what it's going to be.
I don't see how he's going to own a team. Like, Dan Gilbert's not going to sell to him. He hates him. So who else is going to sell? Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what that happens when he retires. But I think LeBron is on the decline, and he's looking at Russell Westbrook like, dude, you are torching my actual last chance at a 5th ring. Like, this is like my last window. That's the biggest reason
that could drive him out. That could drive Russ out, because LeBron's probably looking at it like, this guy is absolutely crushing my chances of winning one last time before I retire.
Exactly. And exactly, Rick, too. He single-handedly picked his team, and it's splatting in his face. Like, he's done this like 5 times, and it works out a little bit sometimes, and it doesn't work out other times. And he literally has to hold the entire L for this. Because here's the thing. Michael Jordan won 6 titles despite his GM pissing him off every single day. And he had a pretty good GM, but they still argued all the time. LeBron is the GM, and he forces himself to be the GM, even though Rob Pelinka is the pseudo GM, and so is Dan Gilbert, or no, not Dan Gilbert, the one guy who's on the Pelicans now. Whatever, who cares? Exactly. LeBron is he is to blame for all of this. He is to blame for all of this. The Lakers are to blame for trusting him to take over their franchise when he's old. And their success and failure is entirely on him. It's absolutely entirely on him. If they, wait, what was I forgot about it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yes, it's entirely on him. This failure is on him. Yeah. And the Russell Westbrook situation. Oh yeah, here's the other thing I was going to say. Came back to me. I have a question for you, Bobby. Final question about Russell Westbrook. If the Lakers decided to trade for him, how the hell are they going to get any value for him? Who would want him at this point?
They want. I think other teams this season has kind of showed them like where Russ's career is going. He might. I don't think they're going to get. If they get anything for him, it'll be a shock, because I think this year kind of really showed where Russ is. You know what it is? I think Russ is burnt out. He's just burnt out he's burnt out. Somebody said it in the live chat perfectly. He's burnt out from all those years of putting stats before team.
And he did. I mean, he is the triple double king. Good job, Russ. You know what? First ballot Hall of Famer, whatever.
Where did it get him? Where did it get him?
Not going to win anything anymore.
It got him nowhere.
Steph Curry is the same age as Russell Westbrook. They're both drafted in, I believe, 2008 or 2009. They're like the same exact age, right? Russell Westbrook, he's going to China soon. Steph Curry, he's got another 2,000, 3,000 shots to make.
And look at Curry too. Look at Curry too. Like, look at a guy. Look, like, there's older guys in the league that adapt their perfect examples of it, right? Look at some of these guys that are getting older in the league that are adapting their play to fit themselves. They realize that that certain skill sets that they have are diminishing as they get older. So what do? They adapt their game to survive, and it goes from a scoring, aspect to how can I facilitate now? How can I facilitate a shot? Can I use can I use my own star power that I have, to help other guys get an open shot? Like LeBron has done it. That's how they won.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
That's how they won the title last year. Is
LeBron changed
because you couldn't not pay attention to him, because as soon as you didn't pay attention to LeBron James, he made you pay. So you had to pay attention to him. You know what I mean?
100%.
You had to. And then
100%.
And then he used his own star power to be like, okay, well, here's a wide open shot for 3 other people. I'm just going to facilitate the basketball to them.
Yes. And if you try to guard me one-on-one, I'll just drive because I'm bigger than any other point guard in the entire NBA. Yeah. So that was really smart when he did that in 2020. Russ
never learned how to play for a team. He played for himself all these years. And this is where it gets you. You might make a lot of money. And you might stay in the league. You might stay in the league for 9 or 10 seasons, but your legacy isn't going to be the same.
Well, I really don't think anybody at all is going to invest in Russell Westbrook anymore. His contract is huge. It'd have to get bought out, which they could. The Lakers could. They could throw money at it. It wouldn't be a big deal. But that would have to get bought out, and they would lose all value for him. They could have had Buddy Hield. That's the biggest L that LeBron James is, as far as being a GM. That's the biggest L LeBron James has ever had. Because like all these behind the scenes things he does, it's like this one, man, you could have had Buddy Hield, an improved version of Danny Green, who you won a championship with. So that is just, it's tough. It's tough to see that stuff. It really is. But at the same time, LeBron has had plenty of success. I really don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for him.
He's been plenty successful.
He's fine.
Absolutely. Let's transition into some football news now, some NFL. And me and you've kind of been following this off camera as well. This Antonio Brown story is just wild. Like wild. There's all sorts of stuff, bro. Like this is like it, because at first it started off as being like, well, like I think the original story that we got, the media was trying to paint, AB as just being crazy and out there and just, it's just AB being AB and being stupid.
Right.
But that dude's got receipts. AB's got receipts and text messages saying that
a little bit too many.
they talked prior to the game. And not only that, the injury report for Tampa Bay even put Antonio Brown on the injury report, and there was a DNP for I think 2 or 3 days leading up to that Bucs game, where he didn't even practice because of that ankle. And their text message clearly say that he rolled it and that he's not 100%, but he's going to give it a try. He's going to try and go. But I think the narrative has kind of flipped now that we've seen, AB's release stuff and said like
a lot,
saying that like I was hurt and I was trying to play through an injury. And then I got my coaches on the sidelines telling me that if I don't go on the field, I'm cut.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good look for the coaches' side. I think you put it perfectly to me, and you said that both sides handled it like awful. So
yes, they did.
I just want to get I 100% agree. I think both sides, like Antonio shouldn't have done what he did, but the coaches, Bruce Arians, shouldn't have, like, you can't just say what he said either. So,
yes.
So I want to get your, like, give me what you think about that. Like, you said it perfectly. So what do you got?
Well, I've thought about it a lot, and I've looked into everything that he said, and I've looked into what Arians said, and I listened to Tom Brady a little bit, and I think that a lot of this is just a big, huge miscommunication, and it blew up really bad because of just the volatility in the room, or not in the room, but on the field, basically. And I think that ultimately, this is truly what it is. Like AB, just like every football player, right? Just like every person, every grinder, anyone who works hard for something, anyone who works their ass off every single day for 10, 15 years for something, right? You feel like, okay, I should be treated with a certain amount of respect, right? Because here's the thing, AB is not paid like a superstar. He thinks he's a superstar, which he's not paid like one. You know what? That's fair because he has like some NFL records, like I'm pretty sure per game average in a season or something like that. He is an NFL Hall of Famer. I think that is kind of hard to argue he's not. Maybe not first ballot, but he probably is a Hall of Famer. So in his mind, he's thinking, okay, I may not get paid a lot of money. I may be like the fourth receiver on the roster as far as salary goes, maybe fifth, sixth. I'm not even sure, but he's not high up there. He's not Mike Evans. He's not Godwin. So in his mind, he's just like, okay, I'm still AB though. And the coaching staff sees him as just like, okay, you're only here because Tom likes you. You know what I mean? So there's probably some, resentment. I don't want to deal with this guy there. I guarantee that's kind of what Tom said. He's like, I don't know what happened, but there was a lot of yelling and stuff. And I think it came down to the coaches were probably pushing him. They said, all right, well, we gave you the painkiller. You're the fifth guy on the roster. Come on, we need you. We need you. They pressured him and pushed him and nudged him, just like football coaches do, even in high school, by the way. So in their mind, this is normal. And Bruce Arians, he's a guy who will just yell. He'll just yell. He screamed at Gronk. You know what I mean? He'll just scream at you. So if you're being a little bit off of, if you're not doing what he wants, basically, good or bad, it's the way he coaches and stuff like that. So AB didn't like the way they were talking to him. That's number one. He didn't like the way they were referring to him. They were basically saying, if you don't play, you might get cut. Basically, we might just cut you. Like, what's the point of you if you're going to be injured all the time? Which that's not cool. I don't think that's cool, especially if that's true and no one's denied that. So that's definitely not cool at all for him to do that. But from AB's perspective, he's in pain. They're losing to the Jets, and that's in everyone's perspective. They're all pissed off because they're losing to the freaking Jets. That's not cool. Brady's pissed off. He's probably screaming at him. He probably doesn't give a shit about AB's pain because he's played through a broken toe, so he doesn't give a shit. He's like, whatever, you have a rolled ankle, whatever, keep playing. I don't care. So nobody's listening to AB. He's getting mad. He doesn't want to play. He's in so much pain. He's probably pushing through it. And then, to make matters worse, this coach says something stupid like, you're going to get cut then or something like that. That's what he said. And the coach is like, well, we hadn't planned it. But then it's like, I actually believe both sides. I believe that they hadn't planned to cut AB just for sitting on the bench, but somebody probably did pop off and say something stupid. And that's what happens on these fields. Everything's emotional. And AB was like, oh, you're going to be stupid? F this, F you, and then he just started throwing his jersey off and like flew off the handle. And then he's running around the field. So everyone thinks, well, why aren't you playing? You run around the field, it hurts so bad. But that he's also on painkillers. It's the adrenaline. I get it. He's angry. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things at play here from both sides, and I think ultimately it was handled, especially by the coaching staff. Number one, horribly by them. You don't treat a player like that. You just don't, in my opinion. And number two, AB was immature.
Deal with it at the end of the game. That's something
exactly.
You just go. Let the guy sit on the bench and then deal with it in the locker room after the game. Like if AB sat down and said, I can't go, why are you going to, especially with a guy like that, you know what I mean? If you push a guy like that, it's not going to end well,? So if he's like that, you just, Arians should have just ignored it and said whatever and dealt with it later.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who popped off and said that. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you, but ultimately, they shouldn't have said that. Even if it was an assistant coach, I don't care who it was. If it was Arians, you shouldn't have said that. It's not something you say to a professional. And also, I was going to say that with AB, He's looking at it like, bro, I sleep in satin sheets. I'm not a grinder. You're talking to the wrong guy right now. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like homeless. I haven't been homeless for 15 years. I'm not poor. I'm wealthy. You don't talk to me that way. And I totally get that. And also, he's a hardworking professional. You shouldn't talk to anyone like that, period. Even if they are poor or begging or needing something or working, grinding, you shouldn't. But regardless, he's not. He's wealthy. He's probably wealthier than the coach that yelled at him, even if it was Arians. So you just, there's certain levels to this. You just don't talk to. You shouldn't talk to anyone like that. That's my ultimate takeaway. Let's see. Mentions illegal drug pushing.
and I agree with you. Both sides handled it really, really bad. Both sides handled it bad.
He said, "Lol, sure." No, I swear I am 6'4". I swear to God. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The illegal drug pushing to play makes me nervous. Yeah, actually, you know what? Just for you, Pat, I'm going to release a video of me dunking, actually, after this. Just for you, Pat, on I-90 Sports. I'm going to release a video for you, Pat. Anyway, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So let's stick with football, right? And since you brought up Tom Brady, let's talk about Brady. So Brady beats the Jets. The Bucks beat the Jets this week, and Tom Brady does Tom Brady things. They give Tom Brady the football with under 2 minutes to go.
Oh God, that was amazing.
90. So this is why Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever.
The best ever.
Brady gets the football back with under 2 minutes to go, need a touchdown to win this game, and 93 yards to get to the end zone.
Crazy.
Let that think in. All right. Let that think about that for a second and let that sink in. 93 yards, 0 timeouts, under 2 minutes, needing a touch. You need a touchdown to win this game. Field goal means nothing. You need a touchdown.
Tom Brady is, I don't think you can master football because it takes 10,000 hours roughly to master any craft. And you have to do that craft consistently in the zone for 10,000 hours. So I don't think anyone will ever be able to master that, master football. But Tom Brady is as close is as close to mastering football as anyone's ever come. He understands the game so well. The only thing I can remember with Tom Brady is is Peyton Manning. Remember Peyton Manning on the Broncos? Whenever he, like, no timeouts, I'm pretty sure it was like a minute 30 left. He drove down the field, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Wes Welker, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, it was just click, snap, 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 snap. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are so much better than this. In my opinion, it's number 1 and 2. Tom Brady's the best. Peyton Manning's the second best. And the reason why Peyton Manning's the second best is because he inspired Tom Brady to be as good as he is now. And it's just
the rivalry between Manning and Brady drove Brady to be better.
He was like, if you watch A Man in the Arena, he even said that he's like, Peyton Manning used to be able to tell, he used to be yelling out plays and breaking down defenses and changing plays in the middle of the thing. It's like, and then Brady was like, I can't even do that. Why can't I do that? So then Brady was like, screw that. I want to be able to do that. Now Brady's just on the same level as Peyton Manning, and he's more clutch, and he's better in the cold weather. Brady is the greatest of all time. And the fact that he's still doing this shit with no timeouts is 45.
That was his 67th.
How?
That was his 67th game-winning touchdown drive. 67th.
Who's the second best?
That's a good question. I don't know that. I don't know.
I'm going to look that up. Most game-winning drives. That's unbelievable. It really is.
67.
That's insane. I know Derek Carr has a crap load, which he doesn't get talked about with that,
but he's just, this is Tom Brady. This is what you get. Like, he has said it multiple times, that he has said multiple times in multiple interviews with whatever network it is, a bunch of different guys, right?
Peyton Manning has the second most.
He's been in the league. He's been in the league for so long and pretty much seen every scenario a defensive coordinator can throw at him. So there's not much that he can't look at a defensive backfield and diagnose pre-snap what is usually going to happen. He said his exact words were, "I feel like I have the answers to the test."
It's just he's playing chess at a master class, and everybody else is still playing at like pro to amateur. And he's sitting here. He's a complete master, and there's no one that can touch him because he has played longer than everybody else, and he's maintained his physique as good as anybody could. He's actually, you could argue, he's gotten better. This is going to be like his third or fourth 5K yard season because he's going to get 5K. He's like 10 yards away next game, unless they sit him. He's going to get 5K yards. He's 45. Like that's going to be a record for forever. I don't think who's going to touch that. Aaron Rodgers is the only one I can think in the next, and that's if Aaron Rodgers plays to 45. It's unbelievable. I don't think anybody can do some of the things Brady did.
I don't think we are ever going to see Brady's longevity again.
It'd be really hard to match that. I don't know. We'll see.
So let's stick with football, and let's go back into the Windy City here, and let's talk about the Chicago Bears.
Do we have to? No, I'm just kidding.
Now, you had sent me something, and it says that the Bears are looking for could possibly be looking for a new head coach, and that reports are out that Ryan Pace is reportedly going to stay. So,
yes, there's a few sources, one of whom he's broken a lot of significant news on Twitter, and I'd be shocked if he was wrong. All reports seem to be that Ryan Pace is not taking much blame for this, that the blame is going to Matt Nagy, which I find a little bit strange. And ultimately that Ryan Pace is keeping his job. And the other rumors that are coming out is that, so I think what's happening is with this situation is I think that they realize that they need to go in a new direction. Even though Matt Nagy has had some success, they need to go in a new direction. So I think they want to get Dan Quinn or Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, I think, is the first choice. But they have to pry him away from his very lucrative Michigan job where he makes a lot of money and he's successful and pretty successful at least. And they have to pry him away from that job. He has reportedly shown interest from another source that I think it was the same source actually, that Jim Harbaugh has reportedly shown interest. And in that ultimately, obviously he's played for the Bears. Jim Harbaugh's played for the Bears. He knows Justin Fields. He was in the same conference as Justin Fields against when Michigan and Ohio State saw him multiple times. The other report was that Jim Harbaugh is eyeing the Raiders job. So that's a whole, that's a fluid situation. We're going to have to look into that in the future because that's very interesting. It's like, well, which one does he prefer if he could have both? Would he want to come back to Chicago or would he want to go to the Raiders? I don't know. So we definitely need to see that for sure.
He might actually choose Chicago. And you want to know why?
Why is that?
They have youth. They
do have youth.
Youth and potential at the quarterback position. The potential for Justin Fields to be really good is with the right guidance and the right coaching is there. The potential for him to be very good is there. He knows what he's getting with Derek Carr. He's getting a veteran, he's getting a veteran. And do you, no offense, but do you want to deal with with Davis?
That's true. That's a good point.
If I was, it seems like the upper management of Chicago would be more willing to kind of let Harbaugh do his thing and leave, and stay out of it than the Raiders management would. That's the one thing that might deter him. And if I'm him, I want to go to a team where they just let me do my thing. Let me do what I do and don't bug me.
That's a really good point.
And don't bug me. And I think Bears upper management, Ryan Pace and McCaskey, and I think they would just let him do what he does without bothering him. And that's what any coach wants, Let me coach and just let me coach the team.
No, dude, I'm 100% with you. And and I would love that. God, that would be the best case scenario. I think that Ryan Pace would love to hire a really, really good coach and just kind of be there for the scouting. I really think he'd love that. And honestly, he'd probably defer to the coach most of the time, especially if it's a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who's a complete alpha personality. I could totally see that. Ryan Pace does not come off to me. He comes off as an analytical guy. He does not come off as like this alpha who wants to call the shots.
And you know what Jim Harbaugh would do for Pace too? He would say to Ryan Pace, analytics are great and we'll use them, but they're not the Bible.
Yeah, and Jim Harbaugh will have to have, especially when he's also,
and Harbaugh would command respect on that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Pace would say, okay, I think Pace would back down.
He probably
would have the type of personality where Ryan Pace would back down and say, okay, we'll trust you on it.
And maybe he should. Maybe Ryan Pace actually is the guy who should be the guy who, because it was Mike or Ted Phillips before. Maybe Ryan Pace should be that guy. He hasn't. The problem with Ryan Pace is I think he'd be better in a presidential role or a front office consultant role or a scouting role, because we need a GM that understands the cap situation like the Rams. You know what I mean? Where you can just continuously sign people if you need to and fill spots that you need to and understand where your cap is. That's really important. So I don't think he excels at that, but I do think he has an eye for talent. And call me crazy. I do. I would absolutely love, he said Bears football is on par with Celtics. Yeah, it's like we have high expectations. Exactly. We have absolutely high expectations. And I think that a guy like Jim Harbaugh has incredibly high expectations. And another thing about Jim Harbaugh is he's been recruiting for the last, 7 years, 8 years? He's been recruiting and recruiting. Also, he likes, because remember he had Colin Kaepernick, and he wasn't satisfied with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was really, really good. That was like his prime. He wasn't satisfied with Smith. He got Colin Kaepernick. Obviously, we know what happened there, but that's a whole different thing. But when they were successful, he had a running dual threat quarterback who could throw down the field. And that's exactly what Justin Fields is. Derek Carr is not that. He's a pocket quarterback. He's a really good pocket quarterback, but he's a pocket quarterback. So I don't know if he'd be satisfied with Derek Carr. So I think Harbaugh's a really good idea.
He's coached a guy like you said with Colin Kaepernick's skill set. And I think that, a guy like Fields who can throw on the move well, and Fields throws in the pocket okay, you know what I mean? But his Justin Fields' real skill set is on the bootleg, looking down the field, finding an open receiver and delivering a ball on the move. I think that's his strongest skill set. And how did the Niners, when the Niners were really successful with Kaepernick, is what did they do with him? They got him on the move. They got that line. It was usually a stretch block, and it was.
Yeah. We need that.
Let's move the line. Let's move the quarterback, and let's let the receivers, do what they do and throw on the run. And I think,
bro, wow.
Like I'm telling you, I think Harbaugh would fit very well. If I was him, I would choose a team like Chicago over. There's multiple, there's multiple layers to it. You got to consider Chicago has the youth on defense. They have youth on defense, which is huge for Harbaugh because he's going to like that, the youth on the D that he can build on. And they should just get him in there and let him draft offensive linemen to put around Justin Fields. I'm telling you, I think it would be wise of him to consider Chicago as a destination.
It would be absolutely wise of. I think he is. You know what? I'm hoping he's the first option, because now that you say that, that is Matt Nagy's. What you just explained, that whole rolling out the blocking scheme and everything. That's Matt Nagy's greatest weakness. Matt Nagy's clever from sideline to sideline. Sometimes he's clever with the receivers. Sometimes he's even clever with the run game. But he is terrible with the blocking game. The blocking game makes no sense sometimes. Like he'll just kind of like run up the gut or do a pitch around. It's like there is no what do you call it? Sophisticated blocking scheme. Just like Harbaugh, just like Kyle Shanahan, just like Sean McVay. That kind of stuff is so important in today's game. And Matt Nagy, that is one thing that I can say on the field he lacks tremendously. So I would love to see Harbaugh try that with the Bears, especially with a guy like Montgomery and Herbert. Man, you could really get something out of that.
But see, and here's the thing too: if you can get that passing game rolling with Fields, that's going to open things up for Montgomery to just have absolute beasts of a game.
I'd love to see it.
If you have to respect Fields on the ground, then you're going to leave that middle of the field a little soft, because out of respect for him. And I think Harbaugh would fit well. I really do. I think he would fit well there. I think the youth is there. And the most important thing for me, like I said before, is they're going to let him do what he does. You don't want, if you're a coach in this, look at the good teams. What do they all have in common? Look at the good owners in the NFL. Good owners and good GMs are the money guys.
Yep.
Especially the owners. The owner is the money guy. He signs the checks and just stays out of the football business.
The good ones do.
That's what I'm saying. The good owners in the league of these teams that are perennial playoff teams, they are simply there to monitor the money, and that's it.
That's definitely something that the Bears need. I don't think that's Pace's strength, and I think that he really messed up. And yeah, that's what we need. So I saw this one. There was a poll on this Bears group I'm in, and they all did the whole thing. Kellen Moore was on there, so it was Jim Harbaugh, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn. Who do you want and stuff like that? And there was like 65% Jim Harbaugh. People really want to see Jim Harbaugh try, and I said that in a previous video. I think it was like 2 months ago that I wouldn't mind seeing Jim Harbaugh come, and that would be cool. That'd be really cool to see, because I think we do need a change of direction.
Well, I mean, let's like go just two more minutes here.
Sure.
So if Harbaugh does come into the league, Chicago's one of the teams, and give me like two or three others that you think that he could go to. I think Chicago fits the best out of any team that you could actually like.
Well, they said he's shown interest in the Raiders, but again, that could just be a leverage point. You know what I mean? They could just be like.
That's never been his style. I think that might be a little smoke and mirrors going on there.
Well, I'm not. Who else would? He's not going to Jacksonville. He's much too successful to go to Jacksonville.
And that's a mess. Why would you? Yeah. At least Chicago has building blocks and a solid core to work with. Jacksonville, you're going to have to start from scratch.
I agree, Rick. Yeah, he said Bears need Tony Dungy. I mean, Tony Dungy has spoken out a lot on this situation, actually, believe it or not. Tony Dungy has said, hey, what's up, TSR? Tony Dungy has spoken a lot
what's up, Rich?
On this Bears situation. He speaks a lot on everything. He talks on Sunday Night America, but he mentioned like that Jim Caldwell. That's another guy. Jim Caldwell was on the list too. I would honestly be okay with all four of them over Nagy right now. I would. And it's not because I really think I'm not one of these people who like wants to burn Nagy at the stake, because there's a lot of those people. Nagy's the reason we suck, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of reasons why we suck. Nagy's not the only reason, but I think Matt Nagy needs to be a good offensive coordinator for a while before he can be a head coach again.
You know what I think happened? You guys have just run your course with Matt Nagy.
Sadly, I think that's true.
I think the Bears have just run their course. I think that this is what they're going to be with him at the helm. I think it's just gotten to that point. They've run their course with him. I think the team needs a new voice in the locker room.
I agree, and I think we need. We need We need because who called it? Eddie Jackson called him a player coach. Matt Nagy, he called him a player coach. I don't want a player coach. Okay, I don't want one. I don't want one. It's never worked in Chicago. Keep in mind, Buddy Ryan was a player coach. He was the defensive coordinator. It's the only time it's ever worked. It's never worked in Chicago. Lovie Smith was not a player coach. His players loved him, but he was incredibly disciplined. He was incredibly hard on his team. And also, they were the most buttoned up team on defense and special teams. They like never had penalties on defense and special teams. On offense, they were trash, but that's a whole different thing. So that's just never worked in Chicago. It's not our culture. We talked about culture before. Culture matters. And I think that Jim Harbaugh fits the culture a lot. Defensive minded, run game first. And then if you give him a guy like Justin Fields, he can make you pay.
Harbaugh would use David Montgomery to his fullest potential.
Yes, he would. He'd use all of Harbaugh is going to extract all of the potential out of all of his players. That's what he did all 3 years he was in the league. He went to the title game.
I didn't mean to. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to.
Oh, you're fine. I was just finishing.
I think that's the biggest part of what kind of. I think Nagy's voice in the locker room has just kind of been lost. You know, like they still respect him, but I think it's just. I think he's I think you guys have just run your course with him, and that's a new voice. I think would be good. I think it would do the team and the team morale too a lot of good.
We need to shake things up. That's for sure. Cab says Pete Carroll's a player coach. See how that's going now. And the thing is, Pete Carroll's a really good example. He came into the Seahawks. They were incredibly talented when he already got there. They already had like 5 Hall of Famers. Drafts Russell Wilson, develops him. That's pretty much the only thing he can take credit for. And Russell Wilson hates him now. So it's like Pete Carroll is like he's fallen from grace tremendously because he's a player coach who had a tremendous amount of talent. And then he cost his team a Super Bowl, no matter how you want to shake it, that's the case because Belichick outcoached the crap out of him. That's a thing too. The players can get beaten on the field. The coaches can get beaten in the with their playbooks. You know what I mean? So he's the reason why they lost the one Super Bowl that the Patriots won. That was one of the biggest Super Bowls of Tom Brady's career, probably the second biggest. And actually, he's probably the third now that the Bucs won. Man, he has so many. It's unbelievable. But I agree with you. Pete Carroll is the example that I would use. Perfect example. Even if you have success early on, it's going to flame out. Question: would you like Bill Lazar as the head coach since he looked good as the offensive coordinator? And see, that's the thing. No, you can keep him, but the way I look at it is Matt Nagy hired all these guys. If they looked good, then you're telling me you thought Matt Nagy looked good, and I actually do think sometimes, Damian, that Matt Nagy did look pretty good as a coach. He is creative. He's a creative guy, but in my opinion, he and Lazar belong as offensive coordinators for now. We need a really strong, powerful voice who has some experience and that people will immediately gravitate to. Bill Lazar would be an experiment. We don't need an experiment, especially when we have a guy like Justin Fields who has as much potential as he has. We have to harness that as fast as possible.
Yeah. No, see, I 100% agree. This is why I think Harbaugh should take the coaching job in Chicago because
I hope he does.
There's a massive building block there to work with, and his name's Justin Fields. And the potential is he's already taken one quarterback to the one running, one mobile quarterback to the Super Bowl.
For real. And he made people pay. And the second Kaepernick wasn't around Harbaugh, sucked.
It was a failure.
He's terrible.
He declined. As soon as Harbaugh left, that was it.
Greg Roman and Harbaugh. And think if Greg Roman came with Harbaugh, because keep in mind, Greg Roman, he's been with the Ravens for a while with John Harbaugh, but before that, he was with the Niners. What if we can get Greg Roman or one of his assistants? That'd be pretty amazing.
That's true. That's true. That would work
with
too.
Jim Harbaugh. So.
Yeah. No, put him with him. That would work too.
Yeah.
Let's transition now. Let's stay with football. And let's talk about another quarterback. And this one's wearing the flying Elvis on his shoulder. Let's talk the Pats and Mac Jones. first of all, there's not much to really talk about with Jones and the game he had against, there's not much to really talk about against the last Patriot game, because the Jags are just, you can't really use them as any type of a measuring stick, because they're just so much of a massive dumpster. I fully believe Alabama could beat the Jaguars.
Hey, they have a chance at least,
or at least give them a run for they're just okay. My point is just they're just so bad. Jones and Mac Jones, the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, all of them, right? They did exactly what everybody in the country expected them to do, to absolutely demolish the Jaguars. And Bill, we all know how Bill Belichick is against rookie quarterbacks. He just
it's a tough
he just dominates them. They don't stand a chance against him. And here's the thing, JD, after the Indy game, when they lost like that in Indy and they lost that tough game like that, there was no doubt in my mind that Bill Belichick was going to come into this game and absolutely step on the throat of the Jaguars and run this score up, because he could have stopped in the middle of the third quarter and just been like, all right, guys, like enough, we're good. They're we've already we've already finished him off.
A few times.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he could have stopped. I knew for a fact that Belichick was going to come into this game and absolutely torch this team up and down the field. And you want to know why? Because the Pats, the team, needed to get back up and they needed that confidence boost again, because they're heading into the playoffs. They're heading into the playoffs with a rookie quarter. Like, they needed that confidence boost, that boost to say, we're still the Pats,
Oh, they did. And we talked about it last week. We even said, we both were agreed that the Patriots, if they were going to win, which we assumed they were going to win, that they were going to beat the living crap out of the Jags, because
they were going to absolutely,
they need to get the momentum going.
They were going to demolish them. They were going to absolutely take them apart. Me and you both had said it's not even worth talking about, because the game's going to be a slaughter.
It was a slaughter. We were right about that.
So Mac Jones throws his, I believe, 22nd touchdown pass of the season too.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. He is I really do like the potential. Like, he fits this system perfectly. He does. Responsible with the football, accurate, can make he's very just like Brady didn't have the biggest arm, but didn't have the biggest arm strength. Brady never had a strong arm, the strongest of arm strength.
Right.
He doesn't have a cannon like Josh Allen does, but what he is accurate with is like anything from like 35 yards and in. He can pretty much throw it on throw a dart to, anywhere in the field, 35 yards and in pretty accurately. And that's kind of what we've had him to. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this, on some stuff that came out as an outsider's perspective. Josh McDaniels, in one of his press conferences, openly admitted that he's having trouble integrating people into the Patriots offense. Such names, and he name dropped Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, which are the two $101 million tight end. We paid $101 million for these two tight ends, and our offensive coordinator just admitted that he's having trouble integrating them into the offense this year. Well, I want to get your I want to hear an outsider's perspective and your thoughts on that quote.
Well, I think that this goes back to Cam Newton, actually. I think that they believed that Cam Newton would be the starter going forward, and that Cam Newton would come in and know the playbook a little bit better, and that would use these tight ends. And that's probably why they signed them to begin with. They didn't expect the rookie to take over the job, be better than Cam Newton, and show potential. So now you have to implement the rookie with the tight ends that you spent money on. I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass for that because it must be, he's probably just admitting there is a learning curve that comes with this. But at the same time, you also didn't know what Mac Jones' strengths were. And I think that Mac Jones is relatively well-rounded, whereas someone like Tony Romo just comes in and he finds Jason Witten, he just throws to him a million times, and same with Phil Rivers and a lot of other guys, they rely on their tight end. Even Tom Brady relied on his tight end. Most young quarterbacks do. So with that being said, I think that definitely had an impact. That had an impact, but also, I mean, you shouldn't admit that to the media. I agree with you. It's not something you should say out loud. But I mean, he's being transparent. At least might cost him a job.
All right, fuck that pass. That's what I'm
fuck
saying.
that pass.
He gets no pass with me. The biggest problem that I've had with Josh McDaniels this season, and I've said it to you off camera too. There's been multiple games where there's just been no rhythm, you know.
That's fair.
And
you got to develop
there's
rhythm.
been no rhythm on offense, and you're like, here's why I don't give him a pass, JD. Right? There's been one. As an offensive coordinator, I get like it's a rookie core. I get that, right? I get
Right.
It's a rookie core. But here's why I don't give him a pass. How long has he been in the league as a coordinator?
Oh, probably about 10 years at least.
Probably closer to 15.
15. Oh,
and
wow.
Here's my thing. If you're getting paid as one of the top offensive coordinators in the league, which he probably is.
He is.
Probably is.
I remember they signed a bigger contract.
So he's getting paid a lot of money to be the offensive coordinator, and you're a veteran offensive coordinator at that. You've been in the league a long time. You've been a head coach for what, 2 seasons at Denver, 2 seasons.
Went to the playoffs. Yeah.
Right? There is no excuse for you as a veteran offensive coordinator who's won multiple Super Bowls with the Pats and who's come up with game plans to beat some of the best teams in the NFL.
Falcons.
There's no excuse for me why he should not be able to integrate guys into the offense, especially what we were missing most last year was the tight ends. We had for years, we had no tight end production since Gronk left. And finally, we get these 2 really good, Hunter Henry's a very solid tight end, very, very good. Jonnu Smith is a tight end with a lot of potential, big body, there's just when you're a veteran like that and you've been in the league for that long, it's just hard for me to give you a pass. It's hard for me to just give you a pass like that.
Well, and this is something that, I mean, it was hard for him to work with Tim Tebow, I'm sure, but he did. It was hard for him to work with lesser talent like Kyle Orton, but they went to the playoffs with him, and he won a Super Bowl. When you go from Tom Mother effing Brady, dude, when you go from Tom Mother effing Brady, everyone else is going to be hard.
I think you're about to steal my take. I know. Me and you have talked about this. Go ahead. Keep going.
I was just saying that's it. It's everything's harder now. That's all I was gonna say. Like Tom Brady, when you go from Tom Brady, it doesn't matter who you. Even if you go to Aaron Rodgers, it's gonna be harder. Like it's just harder. Like it's Tom Brady. He doesn't even need you. You don't even need to exist. The fact that you have a job is a blessing. Like, so that's, I don't know. And now that you don't have him, now it's like, all right, do your job. Then he's just like, oh shit, it's actually pretty hard.
But see, you're 1000%. It's me. I fully believe that having Brady for Josh all those years was a huge, like you said, just a blessing because he's a coach in pads.
Yeah,
the guy comes off the field. It's having Tom Brady. One of my Ross, right?
Ross,
right?
yeah.
Ross put it the best. He said, having Tom Brady all those years stunted Josh McDaniels' growth as an offensive coordinator.
100%. If you don't spend time,
it never put any pressure on him. It never forced him to have to work as hard as some of these other coordinators in the league had to.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Kyle Shanahan was dealing with first he had Robert Griffin, and then he had Kirk Cousins, and then he had Colt McCoy, and then he had Matt Ryan, and now then he worked with like a bunch of random people in San Francisco, and then he had, that one guy, Garoppolo. Anyway, whereas McDaniels, he was out there, did well 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he did well, but now it's been 10 years or 8 years, with Tom Brady, just success after success after success. So yeah, I'm sure some of those skills are rusted. You could say some of those coaching skills are rusted, whereas they were fresh 10 years ago.
Like, I fully believe that Brady not only helped Bill out, like Brady and Bill, Brady not only helped Bill, Brady and Bill built off of each other, but Brady and Josh, I mean, because you would see them come to the sidelines and they would talk, and Brady was telling him, here's what they're doing. They line up like this. This is what they're doing. You can go and attack it. Now he has a kid who's basically, imagine going from a guy who's seen that 8 or 10 times, you know what I mean? Like
for sure.
Brady has seen that forever, when they, what I mean?
But at the same time, I think that it will eventually get better. I think this is the ground floor, honestly, for the Patriots right now. I really do actually believe it. I think this is the ground floor, because even if they do keep Josh McDaniels, I think it's the ground floor, because I see Mac Jones as a Dak Prescott-esque talent, right? He's a guy who has, his potential could be, hey, I'm going to improve all the little things and become a star, because I already do the big things really well, like check down, call for the line of scrimmage, operate the offense, be a field general. He's already a pretty solid field general, even as a rookie. So he's got a lot to work with. Josh McDaniels just has to get him on the same page as him, in my opinion.
This next year, I believe, is going to tell us, this next upcoming season is going to tell us a lot about Josh McDaniels. A lot.
Oh yeah, this is actually, yeah, you're right. He's on the hot seat this year. It's getting warmer. I do agree with that,
because attention is being brought to him, not only because of the comments that he made, like if you're in search of a head coach job, McDaniels should have never said that, because that's
true.
That he should have never made that quote. Never said that. You know what?
That's a good point.
That goes. To me, that quote says he's realistically having a hard time
grooming a quarterback,
being a coordinator, because he's actually got to work this year.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing. Like, you don't want your guy, you don't want your head coach to be nervous, or even see, that's why, and I always come back to the Bears, because it's obviously on my mind all the time. But that's why Matt Nagy, him being wishy-washy, that Josh McDaniels, that's a wishy-washy statement. Yeah. Like, when you're wishy-washy, people smell it right away. They're like, this guy's wishy-washy right away. And and when you say, because I'm sure at the beginning of the season, right, Josh McDaniels was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get him implemented. It'll be really easy. It'll be really good. All this stuff. And I mean, I don't know that. I didn't listen to every press conference, but I'm sure if that's what he said, then now you're kind of saying, oh, well, it's hard. Things are hard. Well, you can't say it's hard. You already said it was going to be, you already said things were going to be successful. Although I would say, I think you're a little bit harder on McDaniels than I would be. Because again, you're so much
I'm willing to give him next season too. I want to see.
That's fair.
Because I would be the first to admit, and you're right, I've been very critical of Josh this year. I have.
Yeah.
I think he's been very inconsistent. I think that I think he may have got exposed a little bit. I'll be the first to admit it. I've been extremely critical of Josh this year. I want to see what I hope the Pats can make I would love to see them go on a good playoff run here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be good for the whole team.
I think actually they should move on from Josh McDaniels. Or actually, rather, that Josh McDaniels should move on from them. I think that Josh McDaniels is going to have this one chance. Because here's the thing. Josh McDaniels, if he decides to be an offensive coordinator again, he'll never get another chance at head coaching, I don't think.
Nope.
He burned a few bridges.
This offseason is his own. This is his last chance.
He has to leave. If he wants to be a head coach, he has to leave. Unless he wants to be the head coach of the Patriots, in which case You're going to be waiting a long time, and that's whatever. Maybe that's his plan. But if you ever want to be a head coach for another team, this is your only chance. Like, because if you do it next year, you're going to be invested in the Patriots. No one's going to want you anymore, especially if you have more problems with Mac Jones. So, which they haven't had that many, but if they have any problems with Mac Jones at all, he'll be heavily scrutinized. Whereas now he's still kind of remembered as the Super Bowl winning coach from the 2016 victory against the Falcons.
Hey, we have breaking news.
Ooh, what? What's going on?
Antonio Brown has officially been cut from the Bucs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
they announced
we knew it was going to come. Yeah, probably.
It's official. Antonio Brown has been released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is no longer a Buck. Now it's official.
Well, let me ask you this about him really quick. Now that he's officially released, right? Would you want to sign him? Because like if you're a team in the playoffs right now, or actually can they sign him? Can they even sign him? Or is that a foolish question?
He's released. He's done.
So he's released. So he's just released. So
the Buccaneers, this is
they could sign him maybe.
This is official as of 19 minutes ago. Antonio Brown has officially been released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So he probably can't go to the Raiders. He can't go to the Steelers. He can't go to the Patriots. He can't go to the Buccaneers now. It's 4. The Rams pick him up?
Well, he has history with the Pats. He has played for us before.
Yeah, but I thought Belichick was like, get this guy the hell out of here. I thought, was that not the case?
No, that was Kraft. Kraft actually made that call. Rob Kraft was like, we don't need the drama. We don't want even the slightest amount. But he does. He's the craziest part. He still does have respect for him. Because they told him, AB, like, we can't have you around here until you solve your stuff.
Because of the allegations, but the allegations turned out to be he was innocent. So
that's what I mean.
Maybe actually you're right. That's interesting.
AB could help the Patriots. They need a number 1 receiver. And you want to talk about, imagine, like,
he'd blow the top off your
AB
defense.
Could keep his head screwed on straight.
Well,
he could help the Patriots. He could help the Pats.
I think he wants to be treated like a star, but he doesn't necessarily care if he's paid like a star.
So
you know what I mean?
Let's do this.
Yeah.
What I want to know, put it in the comments section. And if you're in the live chat, let me know in the live chat, but put it in the comments section for anybody who's listening. Pats Nation, would you want Antonio Brown for the playoff run? I'm almost inclined to say let's try it. I'm almost inclined. Almost.
Well, if what he says is true, I don't. Well, and also he's injured. We have to remember that. If he really did roll his ankle, he's injured. So it might take him a few weeks to come back from that completely. I think that a lot of what was happening with him down in Tampa Bay is he was blowing up. And I think that, well, and also another problem too is like John Gruden's gone in Las Vegas. And that was his big guy that he would always argue with John Gruden. So maybe he goes back to Las Vegas and says F you to John Gruden. That'd be interesting. I don't know.
Be inclined to say, yeah, JD, for the Pats, because he could help. A receiver like that could help the Patriots.
And it would be a giant FU to Tom if you really did, because he seems to have bad relationships with people on their way out. But my question is, would he hinder anything that the Pats got going on? Would he hinder the development of Mac Jones? I lean to say probably not because of
not because Belichick would squash that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he'd be like, all right, see ya. So, no, yeah, it's
I'm almost inclined to say yeah. I'm almost inclined to say yeah. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do because the Patriots fans, it's for the year, have been saying they need a true number 1. AB's talent automatically makes him he is a true number 1 receiver. He is.
He is. He is. I feel like he wants to be a number 1 too. He probably got really mad with his role in the Buccaneers being the third option a lot of times. And yeah, that probably did not help the situation too. He probably was complaining about not getting the ball as much. I heard there was some complaints about some sort of. See, here's the thing. This is why I talked about earlier. There was so much contention on the sideline. It's impossible for us to say exactly what did or didn't happen because people. The first report was that Antonio Brown was angry and upset with the coaches about not giving him a certain amount of catches so that he would cash in on his 300,000.
The original report made it painted it as it's all AB's fault.
And then that report. Well, and also there was a bonus at hand where they were saying, "Oh, AB's complaining that he's not going to get his bonus," and then the next report was, "Oh, he just was randomly complaining it," and then he said, "Well, no, there was an injury." It's like there's so much crap going on that sideline. We don't know what was said until like they're mic'd up and we can hear exactly what was actually said. We won't know who was completely right or wrong. All we know is that people got really pissed off and said some mean things to each other, and all of a sudden, like, now AB's off the team. So it's just like, yeah, don't trust the mainstream media. You just can't. You literally can't because they always have an agenda.
Don't ever listen
for anything.
Don't even watch it. Do your own.
Turn it off.
Do your own research.
YouTube or and Rumble. Us. That's it. Watch us on YouTube and Rumble.
You should just watch us and just not do your and not watch the mainstream.
Absolutely. It's terrible. They lie about everything.
The mainstream. Here's what the difference between the podcasters and the true fans that do this on the podcast, right? The mainstream has an agenda. Podcasters are true fans that have no agenda, and they're going to give it to you whatever your team is. Go find a podcast that's not mainstream media. Go find, you know what I mean? Go outside of the mainstream media because it's terrible.
Love you too, Rick. Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Like, exactly. Like, there's so many good podcasts out there that don't even have, like, they're not even on Apple sometimes, but there's so many of them out there. They're all over the place, actually. Some of them are on Apple, but like, and then if you compare these passionate fans, not even just us, but like, there's a lot of really good ones. These passionate fans versus the mainstream is so like, they're always blowing smoke.
It's agenda driven. And
it's so much nonsense.
The only agenda that a true fan has is they want their team to be better.
Like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith even admitted on both in separate interviews that they just say things based on like what their producers talk about what they should say. All right, you say this and I'll say this, and then we'll argue with each other. People are not into that type of fake, old school like sensationalism. We want passion, man. We want real like we are mad about this because our team is not doing X, Y, and Z, and we want to change the conversation. That's the difference in the mainstream wants to frame the conversation. We want to change the conversation. There's definitely a huge difference, and I think that's a lot of really good independent YouTubers and other content creators, especially in the sports podcast space. They're very raw. It's good.
So let's stick with the NFL real quick. Who's your pick for NFL MVP right now?
Well, it has to be Aaron Rodgers. Either Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. It has to be Aaron Rodgers. I know I saw somebody say, somebody in Chicago, this clown said something like Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be the MVP or something like that.
Did you read the reports that the guy there was like this one
stupid.
So this is how ridiculous like the mainstream media is, guys. Let's just give you a prime example, right? There is this one guy that won't vote for Aaron Rodgers for MVP because he says he's a bad guy. Listen, personal choices need to be left aside. Can the guy play football really good?
It's unbelievable that these people, and it drives me nuts. These are the type of people that get to decide Hall of Fame votes, MVPs, big, huge decisions that should be left entirely up to the fans are made by these small little sports writers on these select radio stations on like 2 or 3 radio stations. It's ridiculous. These people are clowns because he doesn't agree with Aaron Rodgers' whatever his decisions that we're not even allowed to actually talk about, period. So but they do anyway. So because he's mad about that and he wants to make it all political, he's gonna call him a jerk and say that he's not the MVP. Let me explain something to everybody. I'm a Bears fan. I hate Aaron Rodgers. One time and I felt like a scumbag for a while. One time I cheered a little bit that he, for a second, then I felt bad when he broke his collarbone, because I didn't realize he broke his collarbone. I just saw him down on the ground. He was just like, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, get down there, Rodgers. I was all mad. Then he realized he's hurt. I'm like, all right, well, hope you get better, but yeah, next time, that's what you get for playing the Bears. Anyway, so I have attacked Aaron Rodgers. I've been like, F you, Aaron Rodgers. I've, all this stuff. And I think it's the most ridiculous thing. He's playing with he has 4 injuries in the offensive line. He has a rookie on the offensive line. His receivers are hurt.
He's
and in
playing
COVID
with 4
protocol.
backup offensive linemen, right? Correct.
Incorrect. He has a broken toe for 5 games so far. 5 games in a row since the Bears games. He's had a broken toe, and he's still shitting on the entire league. Just pulling down his pants and taking a giant crap with a broken foot. He doesn't care. He is clearly the MVP. If it's not him, it's Derek Carr. And the only reason it's Derek Carr is because his entire franchise is crumbling around him, and he is still willing his team to the playoffs. So those are the only ones. Tom Brady is in the third, but I would never consider him above Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers this year.
Put it this way, right? You take Derek Carr out of the Raiders, where would they be?
Oh God, a lot of bottom 3.
Oh, dude, they'd be a bottom 4, bottom 5 team at the most. Like they would be terrible if you take Carr out of Vegas.
Oh yeah, Cab's family said Jonathan Taylor hurt his chance. Jonathan Taylor, it's the thing. It's like Jonathan Taylor is an incredible talent, but I would almost give it to Derrick Henry before I give it to him.
Derrick Henry and him are the 2 best running backs in the league.
Oh yeah,
and
they're incredible.
And like number 3, it's like Henry at number 1, Taylor at number 2, and number 3 is like a mile down the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I don't even know who number 3 is.
But you know, it's like those 2 guys are up top here. Like Henry's
so high.
Henry's number 1, Taylor's behind him at number 2, and then the rest of the
absolutely.
It's
impressive.
Yeah, it is like those 2 guys are that impressive. They're very, very good.
Yeah, they're incredible players.
I'm going to agree with you, man. Rodgers he's playing on another freaking level right now. Brady's in Brady's on the conversation, right? Brady's in the conversation right now. But just Rodgers is. How many games has Rodgers put that team on his back and said, we are not losing this game?
That game against the Cardinals
ended
the Cardinals season. I think they might make the playoffs maybe, but wait, I don't even know. But it pretty much
they'll make the playoffs, but he changed.
The momentum was shattered after
he did something to that team. Yeah.
He left a terrible taste in their mouth. That was such an Aaron Rodgers game that he was just like, nope, we're gonna win. No, it's okay, we'll still win. Nothing you could do to stop him. He made some ridiculous throws, just insane.
That scenario that we talked about, right? That scenario that we talked about with Brady, under 2 minutes to go, 97 yards, right? Mm-hmm. There in the last 20 years, JD, there's 5 quarterbacks that you would want leading. There's 4 probably. No, let me take that back even more. There's 3 in the last 20 years. Brady, Rodgers, and Breeze.
The last 20 years,
Drew Brees. Maybe not even Drew
Manning.
Brees. And in the last 20, we could probably fit Manning in there too. We could probably put Manning. We could probably. So here's the list. There's 4. There's 4, right?
Breeze,
There's 4. Brady, Manning, Rodgers, Breeze. That's it.
I think that's fair.
That's it.
That's the top 4. And honestly, you could argue it's the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. You really could, which is crazy, but you could argue it. You could. I mean,
those 4 guys, right? Those guys are light years. If you said, what do you want? You got 97 yards. You got 93 yards to go. You got under 2 minutes, and you got no timeouts. What quarterback you want? I would be willing to say 80% of an asked audience would say Manning, Brady, Breeze, or
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Yeah. I'd go probably Brady, then Manning, then Rodgers for that scenario specifically. And for the first 3 quarters, I'd go Aaron Rodgers regardless. It doesn't matter. I don't care who's on the field. Aaron Rodgers for the first 3 quarters is a freak.
Like we've talked about it we talked about it earlier in the podcast. Brady's greatest attribute is his longevity.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is his longevity.
His leadership.
Availability is the best thing you can, if you're available and you're like that.
Hardworking.
The play. He hasn't been injured. He hasn't been hurt a lot through his whole career at all.
What's good, Enzo? What's good?
Hey, holy shit, Enzo in that. Wow, I haven't seen him in a. What up, dude? What's going on, man? Thanks for stopping in. But yeah, like those, it's just the MVP has got to be Rodgers. It has.
I think it has to be Rodgers too, because of the injuries. I think because of the injuries specifically, all the injuries he's had on his team. Even Adams was out for 2 weeks. So, and he still gets it done. He gets it done with Randall Cobb. He gets it done with Lazard. He gets it done with what's the other guys? Richard Rodgers. He gets it done with all these guys. And he can beat you in so many ways with the football. And I think that Rodgers, better than any other quarterback in the history of the league, he puts the balls in play. He puts the ball in places. And we're seeing some of these young guys start to do it because they're watching Aaron Rodgers their whole life. But Rodgers consistently for 15 years put the ball in places that I don't know if any other quarterback could in some places. Like I remember this one play against Adams. He was triple covered against the Cardinals. And he just threw it, he just throws it anyway.
Threaded the needle. Yep.
I'm like, any other quarterback that's intercepted, even Brady that's intercepted, even Manning that's intercepted, but Rodgers somehow gets it in there. Unbelievable. I don't even understand it.
It's been a lot of fun to watch him play. Like he's an fun. Incredible talent on the football field. But if he doesn't win, I would like to see Jonathan Taylor win it, because that kid is, you want to talk about a kid that's burst onto the scene and left a mark? Absolutely.
Oh, he needs to get some recognition this year for sure. I'd like to see him do it next year. I don't want to hand it, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to give it to him because I feel like it's for me, it's Rodgers or Carr, but I know what you mean. Taylor definitely it should be third probably. He's been something special. And also he's given the Colts the stability they needed to gain an identity, because Wentz plays so much better when Taylor plays better. When Taylor plays well. So having Taylor as you can lean on when you're Carson Wentz, that is special. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that, Enzo.
Yeah, no, I've heard her stories. That's unfortunate, man. I'm sorry, dude.
Rest in peace. My condolences. That's awful. But yeah, I was just saying that it is it's definitely it's a talent thing. It's definitely Rodgers is so talented.
I agree with you too that Jonathan Taylor needs some recognition. That kid is.
Yes,
he is. That he's going to be a really good running back for a really long time.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin guy. He's from this area, so he's something. He's something special.
But you got anything else, JD?
Oh no, man! It's been quite an interesting podcast. Sorry for all the losses in the chat. I definitely will pray for you guys. You know that's not it's never fun to lose someone close to you. I know that definitely for sure. But no, I don't have anything. Let me think here. Luka Doncic had quite a good game the other day. Steph Curry's been unbelievable. It's been amazing. We're in such a good sports time, so I really want to soak it in. It's really nice, and I can't wait for Wild Card Weekend. But yeah, prayers up for the loss and everybody and the families that are going through that. All I have to say for you, my friend, to close out this episode is bear down, baby. And we're coming back for week is it week 18? Week 18.
Yep, week 18.
We're gonna beat the crap out of those those Vikings, man. And Valhalla Sports, if you're listening to,
talk about being able to end the season on a high note. Say it again. What was it?
I'll say Valhalla Sports, you're going down right here, buddy. Let's go. Bear down. Let's go. I'm gonna take it to you. Get the 7th win.
That would be a good way to end the season for you guys, to beat a rival last game of the year.
I would love that. We need to win division games. I don't care if we win out of division games sometimes, but we have to win those division games.
But like, so just to like, before we close it, Harbaugh would be a very interesting pick for the Bears. I think that
Please,
that would work really well for them. I really do. I think Harbaugh would, if he chooses to go somewhere, he should give Chicago some serious consideration.
Hell yeah. I would. I mean, I really hope he does. That seriously would be. I'd be jumping for joy. I'm gonna make a reaction video, just freaking out if we get Jim Harbaugh. I promise you, I'm gonna freak out because that would be the biggest hire of my lifetime. Like seriously, we've hired terrible coaches. We really have. Ever since Lovie Smith, it's terrible.
And that's a guy with legit, like, you know what I mean? Like that's a legitimate hire.
I believe we're going to the Super Bowl with Jim Harbaugh. I believe it. Like maybe not next year, but if we get Jim Harbaugh, I believe we're going to see a Super Bowl within the next 5 years. Like that's going to happen. What up, Missy B? Better late than never. Absolutely. It's going to be on iHeartRadio tonight.
We appreciate you showing up.
Heck yeah.
But that's going to do it for tonight, guys, and episode 23 of the I-90 Sports Podcast. We appreciate you. Once again, me and JD would like to thank anybody who's listening to this on iHeart. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So for those of you listening back on iHeart, the live show is broadcast on Beantown Breakdown and I-90 Sports Talk. And then my buddy JD over here does the edited clips as well. So if you want to just watch a single section or a single segment that we do on the show, that's up on his channel as well. I-90 Sports Talk. That's going to be up there as well. But once again, guys, we couldn't do this without you guys. We appreciate all the support and banging them out, man. 23 in the books, on the way to 100. And we will catch all of you guys again. Go Pats. JD, hit him with it.
Bear down. Let's do 24 for Kobe. Let's go. All right.
Let's go. Go Pats. Bear down. We love you guys. We're out of here.
Going down, Valhalla.